Just a couple years ago, the entrepreneur phenom Caleb Maddix was going on all the podcasts talking about how successful he was and how he's the world's youngest millionaire basically at the age of 16. Well, the other day, the FTC filed a complaint against his company. He found out that life's a little hard than selling success books. Let's start with a clip from one of those podcasts Caleb was featured on.
Yeah, Millionaire?
Millionaire, that's right.
And you just turned 17 yesterday.
Yes, my birthday was yesterday.
From books, selling books?
A couple different things. So that was one of them. I've written 9 books.
Yeah.
So that was one avenue.
It was my absolute favorite business model in the world. 9 books teaching you how to be successful. One of them, How to Make Money as a Kid. This was written in 2018 when he was like 14 years old. I wish I was kidding, but no, this is a serious book, How to Make Money as a Kid. Caleb is a perfect representation of Gary Vee, Joel Osteen, prosperity preacher, entrepreneur. If they mixed together and you just downloaded all the self-help books all into Caleb's head, this is who he is. He is, if you listen to his interviews, he is a mixture of all these all together. It is the most cringe thing in the world, I promise. But if you've watched his interviews, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
What's the most money you've made in a gig?
My dad and I, well, we did.
I mean, you don't have to answer that.
No, for sure. I'll answer it.
Right.
We did an hour speech one time to, it was about, I think it was like 100 people, and we made like 60 grand in like an hour.
Wow.
The joke's on me, everyone. Joke's on me. 60 grand to stand up on stage and talk about success. Of course, you don't have to have success. You just need to read a couple of self-help books, listen to Joel Osteen, listen to Gary Vaynerchuk, and speak about success as if you've had plenty of it and make 60 grand. Here's young Caleb with one of his books, Keys to Success for Kids. It is the best business model in the world. Is you are not rich, so you write a book on how to become rich. And then step 3 is you speak on stages about how to become rich. Social media has amplified this business model. It is the best one in the world because you don't have to be rich. You just write about being successful and rich. As Caleb's going to find out here shortly, having success in the real world is a little bit more difficult than writing a book. When Caleb was really starting to pop off, CoffeeZilla confronted him on a video, which was epic because listen to Caleb, it's so hilarious. And here's a clip of that.
I'm not a guru. If you knew the things I were, my goal is not to have viral videos. My goal is not to create some internet marketing product. My goal is to impact all 8 billion people on earth.
To his credit, Caleb had many viral videos around this time, but if you listen to him, you'll realize just the God complex that he had, that he was so obsessed with this idea of helping all these people, and it sounds great, but realistically, when people make their whole brand about helping people, at the end of the day, it's all to feed an ego. The biggest YouTuber on the planet is like the only guy I see who seems to actually do it out of the goodness of his heart, but most people I found that they're doing this, I want to help all 8 billion people on the planet, they're doing it because they have an oversized ego, and they want all the attention that comes with it. Around the same time, Caleb popped up with a new advertising campaign about YTA method. It was a new business opportunity. He was labeling it the greatest opportunity of our lifetime. Here you go.
Where should you put your money? People ask me all the time, they say, Caleb, I got $10,000, I got $20,000, $5,000, $150,000, whatever the number is, people want to know where should I invest my money to where it makes me even more money. What I'm telling you is to invest your money into YouTube using the YTA method.
Ironically, in 2020, YouTube was an amazing opportunity, but how this was sold was so scammy. The greatest opportunity of our lifetime, and the way they operated this business was so stupid. It lasted about 3 months. Caleb ran millions of dollars worth of ads, probably made a good penny. And of course, the money was made in selling, being the guru, selling the course, and not running this YTA method. Of course, if you guys remember, it was here today and gone tomorrow. That's because the business model was terrible and scammy.
There are a lot of people in this space that are scammed, but to me, that's why I don't consider myself a part of this space. I'm not a guru. I'm a visionary. There's a difference.
Okay, you're a visionary. Got it.
And that'll become very clear in 10 to 20 years from now.
Steven's face is amazing. One of the greatest clips of all time in YouTube history. I'm not a guru, I'm a visionary. And in 10 and 20 years, you're going to see where we're at. Well, young Caleb, we are now about 5 or 6 years past this interview, and it's not looking so good. That YTA method didn't turn out to be so successful, huh? And recently, his business turned out to be a little bit fraudulent. Like the subject in this video, some services drain you of your money and don't deliver value anymore. Recently, I made a goal to analyze my expenses and found out I still had an active subscription for a service I wasn't using anymore. Today's sponsor, Rocket Money, is a great tool for all of us to better handle our budgets. This personal finance app allows you to manage subscriptions, lower bills, create a custom budget, and grow your savings all in one place. I've saved about $300 per month in subscriptions and insurance just from analyzing my budget using the app. I love that Rocket Money is the go-to app for budgeting, finding subscriptions that you may not realize are still active, and having a tool for personal finance. Rocket Money will automatically scan your bills to find savings. With just a couple of taps, Rocket Money can help negotiate your bills for you, from internet service to cable and phone bills. No need to worry about customer service calls. Let the app's negotiators go to work for you to try to find the best rate possible. With Rocket Money, you can create a customized budget in seconds. The app shows you where your money is going at all times and identifies top spending categories with insights on how you can manage your budget better. You can take control of your finances today by joining the over 10 million members using Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/Spencer to get started today for free. Young Caleb wasn't a guru, he was a visionary, so he left that get-rich-easy scheme behind and advanced to Air AI. This was actually a pretty good idea to his credit. So essentially, picture starting up a sales force of AI agents. If this is all new to you, just picture instead of a sales force of humans, you could have AI agents running your sales and customer service. However, June 2024 found the first lawsuit. Liquidity LLC sues Apex Holding Group, doing business as Scale 13. Apex Holding Group is the holding company that owns Air AI. February 16, 2024, they entered into a merchant agreement where this company would give Caleb and his Air AI company $354,000 for future receivables of $531,000. My interpretation of this is when a company gets cash tight, and instead of going and getting credit cards or trying to raise money and losing equity, you can get basically an advance of your future revenue. So you get paid today, you can hopefully solve the cash crunch issues of today. You just have to pay for it. It's very expensive. You'll be paying $3,800 a day in this example. So between February and May of 2024, the defendants ended up paying back $186,000, but they left a balance of almost $350K. This may look familiar. That's because it almost is. On that same day, February 16, 2024, they entered into another merchant agreement with the same company. $365,000 paid today for future receivables of $547,000. So between the two, they got pretty big cash infusion, $700,000. They must have been running at a really big cash deficit. $3,900 a day in order to pay back this loan. So between those same months, they were able to pay back almost $200,000, leaving a balance of $350,000 on this loan. The company Liquidity was able to reach a settlement with Apex Holdings, Air AI, and Caleb on May 10th, 2024, $700,000 in the settlement agreement. So starting June 21st, 2024, every Friday, they'd be paying almost $9,500 until the settlement amount is paid in full. A month later, July 10th, New Vista Capital files a lawsuit. On June 14th, the companies were able to reach a settlement agreement. Sounds like it was the same type of business for cash advance. The amount owed was still almost $500,000. We'd be paid back almost $6,200 per week. But the defendants breached the agreement and still owe $488,000. They incurred a default fee of $122,000, leaving a balance due of $610,000. New Vista Capital was able to earn a judgment against Apex Holdings, Air AI, and Caleb of $610,000, payback with 9% interest per year added on starting from June 21st, 2024. I want to show you this article because of how funny it is. Written on January 4th, 2024 by Caleb Maddix, supposedly. Keep in mind, if you've been following the dates, this is when they were right in the middle of their financial hardships. They're trying to raise a bunch of money. It's basically a boat that's sinking. And I won't read it word for word, but if you want to read it on the screen, it just makes him sound like this visionary entrepreneur. Caleb Maddix inspiring a generation through entrepreneurship, motivation, and AI innovation, all while his company is basically, it's already bankrupt. It hasn't completely ran out of cash yet. Also in July 2024, Healthy Home 365 sues the companies. This next clip is taken from the promotional video that Air AI put out. This is an example of what an AI sales agent would sound like.
Hey, James.
I'm not interested, man.
Yeah, no worries. I hate calls out of the blue too. But I'm actually from Apple, and I saw you were checking out Vision Pro and were about to pre-order but left the page.
Dude, I
was curious, what had you looking into potential?
The idea sounds cool, but I still think these AI sales agents, it's more of the novelty that is cool, more so than the practicality. This went on for many minutes. I just wanted to give you a little clip. They alleged that their sales agents could go for 40 minutes altogether. I think the sales video was about 3 minutes. This is what sold a lot of the plaintiffs, a lot of the people who are victims of this scam. This is what sold them. Is it sounded like they made it sound like the AI sales agent would be pretty similar, maybe 80% of an employee at a fraction of the cost. I love the way this is worded with hubris stacked on hubris. The defendants had sales scripts claiming Air AI had already reached goals that were merely aspirational at the time. What seems very common amongst all the victims of the scheme is that there were very clear overpromises and underdelivered on the software itself. There were misrepresentations that Callaway Golf and Hard Rock Casino had already successfully deployed Air AI's technology and that Facebook and Red Bull were interested. Obviously, this is huge social proof. If you can show that, hey, we already have Fortune 500 companies signing up and you want to be in early on this new technology, why don't you sign up? I think those were lies. I don't think they actually had these companies signed up. So over the course of approximately 4 phone calls, Western, who was one of the sales reps for Air AI, AI wildly misrepresented the operational status, functionality, and integration capabilities of their technology. A couple of the representations that Air AI would make to prospective customers, that they would provide a done-for-you, ready-to-launch demo, automation, and funnel templates. They were going to be right there by the company side, guiding its employee of choice through the tons of information available at Air University, and they were in the process of implementing weekly consulting calls. It sounds really good. It sounds like this new technology where you could implement, if you had many sales reps in customer service, you might not need a full sales force. You might just be able to implement this Air AI technology for a fraction of the cost. You could have a huge sales force. This company was sold that there were only 100 licenses available, so they were willing to pay $100,000. By the way, that business model is not unethical or illegal or scammy in any way. Basically, Air AI was going to create the software and basically white label it so companies could use it and then sell it to their customers if they so desire. But they were sold that the Air AI would mold the employees into some of the best in the world at conversational AI and implement it for your clients. So don't worry, if you sign up, give us $100,000, our company will help mold your employees. It's going to be done for you. That's the way it was sold. Done for you demos, funnel templates, automation, air scripts, and agents to get clients. Sounds like a system that was going to be implemented right away and you could hit the ground running. The problem is all of the promises in the sales process required weeks of in-house work and technical troubleshooting by the company that gave them $100,000 just to get them useful. So these proprietary training materials and videos, most of which appear to be recycled from prior businesses, were rudimentary at best. All this hands-on training, it didn't actually come to fruition because it left this company with more questions than answers. The most common response this company received when reaching out to Air AI for help was, "We're working on it. Not sure how long it'll take." That doesn't sound like done for you to me. So this company was left with no choice. They had to take a couple of their employees and spend weeks upon weeks trying to build this. Remember, it was supposed to be done for you, all the automation. They were going to work with you. They're going to basically hold your hand. That's why you pay $100,000 for this. But instead, they found that they had to use their own employees' time, weeks of it. A couple of really good employees, a couple weeks just to get it up and running. But what they found was that it was basically a beta test project not worth marketing to potential clients. January 2024, I find this cash advance agreement. Remember, this is the same time Caleb is writing his own Medium article about how revolutionary he is in the AI space. So this was another cash advance agreement where they received $150,000 for future receivables of $225K, paying back $2,500 a day. So on top of the other cash advances, they're starting to rack up a pretty big bill. April 10th, 2024, they get another cash advance agreement from this company, Maddix Funding Group, $137,500 for future receivables of $206,000, paying back a little over $2,500 a day. This company, Maddix Funding Group, was able to receive a judgment against Apex Air AI Caleb for $180,000, April 15th, 2025. February 2025, InstaFunding sues Air AI and Caleb. This case started December 15th, 2023, when the companies reached a sale and purchase agreement for future receivables. Air AI would receive $300,000 on that day to pay back $450K, $4,500 a day until paid in full. In this complaint, the plaintiff alleges that the defendant has incurred all these fees and seeks about $274,000 from Air AI. This is one of my favorite clips by Caleb back when he was going on his little podcast run, teaching everyone on how amazing he was.
And if I told you everything about my vision, there's a good chance you would think I'm like insane. And I really mean that. Like a lot of people are like, what's your financial goals? Like I'm not even thinking about that. Like I do want to be eventually, once again, like let's go and say it on camera. I want to be a trillionaire.
Yeah.
His vision is so remarkable. His vision, he writes books on how to have success. Then when it comes time for him to actually have success, which is my favorite thing about successpreneurs, as I like to call them, is you write all the books about success and you stand on stage and preach success. But when it comes time to actually, actually in the real world, actually build success, you seem to fail. YTA method floundered 3 months later. That thing turned into a scam. And then your first big company, Air AI, total fraud, total scam, getting hit with an FTC complaint. Real big success story. Now it's time for the FTC complaint filed a couple weeks ago against Air AI, Caleb, and Ryan O'Donnell. The two big services offered were coaching and business support software, Air AI Access Card, as they like to call it. They would charge $15,000 to $30,000 for this. And then they also offered licensing, $25,000 to $100,000. For the record, if their software was really good and as competent as they sold, this actually makes sense, business to business. There's companies that they spend a significant amount on a sales force or customer service, and if there was an AI agent that could replicate humans and do just as good as them, this cost makes a lot of sense. The problem is this company was all kind of a sham, and they didn't really deliver on anything. Right here, defendants' false earnings claims and refund guarantees. So stating on phone calls that consumers can make back the cost of services ranging from $15,000 to $30,000 very quickly. The way they sold this, and the reason why people were willing to hand over so much money for a new company and ran by a couple kids, is because they were making promises. Look at B. they said that customers would get a full refund if they didn't make back a $30,000 investment within 3 months. Now, to keep in mind, this is not an investment opportunity. What it was is you could use our software, these AI agents for your Salesforce or customer service, and if you like it, you can then turn around and sell it to other businesses that you may know that could use this software, and we'll license it so that you can use it and make money selling it. So the way it was promised to these customers is that you not only can use it, but then you can sell it for $30,000 to your neighbor. This is not an MLM scheme. I know some of you will leave a comment about, oh, that sounds like this is not an MLM. This is actually a pretty solid business model. If everything was working as planned, this was actually a very solid business model. The problem is, as you can imagine, it was not. They were stating in social media ads and marketing videos that Air Access card holders will earn 3 times their current business income within a short period of time. Sounds like a Ty Lopez type ad. Really do not like that. I'm glad the FTC stepped in. I think that is incredibly unethical to make claims like that, and most certainly when you can't back it up. Also, stating on phone calls that some consumers were making $1 million a year using defendant services. I didn't see any proof of this in the FTC complaint. They didn't give any examples. Maybe someone did, but I don't think there's any validity to this, because if you read any of these complaints, and all of them seem to have the same ending, is these people signed up for a software that they thought worked, and it worked terribly. So there's no way that anyone was turning around and making $1 million selling this software. Defendants fail to honor refund guarantees. Despite the claim that it was the industry's boldest refund guarantee, they very rarely honored it, unfortunately. During their sales calls, they promised consumers that if the services do not work out for them, the consumer will be refunded their entire purchase price. The reason why there were so many lawsuits is, as you can imagine, none of these people were able to get their refund. Here's the Trustpilot for Air AI. 1.2 overall rating, 87 reviews. If you were to read all these reviews like I did, you'll reach the same conclusion. This was a total scam. Everyone feels like they were duped. There were promises made, none of them delivered upon. There were refunds promises, none of them delivered upon. It sounds like a lot of people lost a lot of money with this scheme. In August 2024, defendant O'Donnell, Caleb Maddix's co-founder, sent an email to several consumers. Our company has come into some intense financial hardship. It's an understatement. Keep in mind, this is August 2024. This is a couple months after all those cash advance agreements were going into default. Our intense and persistent efforts to raise outside capital were not fruitful. No, they were fruitful. You raised a bunch of money. You just burned all the way through it. We as owners have put 100% of our personal capital into keeping things afloat. We have spent 100% of our cash, maxed out our credit, and even given up our apartment to cut back. If true, I do commend them. That is admirable for them. If they took all their personal cash and put it in the business to try to keep it afloat, that means they at least have the best intentions, that they're willing to invest all their money as well. This was just a failing business. So sorry, Caleb, your millionaire status might come into question if you used all your personal cash in a bankruptcy. We have spent every last dollar that we have as owners. We are completely out of cash at this moment. And that is probably the end of this company. August 2024, completely out of cash. Game over. This was also mentioned in the FTC complaint that the corporate defendants commingled almost $24 million worth of revenue amongst the companies. A bank account for Air AI transferred nearly $14 million to bank accounts for each corporate defendant. I'd be really curious about the money flow. If we found out that money went to their other companies and then ended up going to their personal bank accounts, then we got fraud. That's not being alleged. To be clear, that's not being alleged. I'm not saying they committed fraud. But oftentimes in these stories where a company raises a bunch of money and then they magically can't pay it off and all the company's going bankrupt, then you find out that some of that money went to other companies that ended up in the personal bank accounts of the founders. I also noticed that Caleb has wiped his social media accounts. Here's his YouTube, where all of his content has been taken down. Here's his Instagram, all of his content taken down, as well as Facebook. The last post was July 2023. Seemed like a guy who was running around social media a couple years ago talking about how successful he was, wrote books on being successful, talked to entrepreneurs about how to be successful. Didn't take long, but a couple years later, he found out that it's a little harder to be successful in the real world than writing a book. I found the perfect clip to end this video on.
I'm not a guru, I'm a visionary, my man.
Life is really hard, Caleb. I hope you have massive success down the road. I hope you're able to build a company and pay back all your victims. Everyone's made whole, and you do end up becoming a success. But the reason why all of us rolled our eyes and thought you were incredibly cringy is because you just haven't lived long enough. When you're 16 years old, talking about having success and talking to entrepreneurs about having success, we know you haven't been kicked in the nuts long enough. Once you get kicked in the nuts a couple times, now is when life starts. Now is when you can build yourself up. And then ultimately, hopefully one day, write a book about success. Until then, we will just call you a fraud like we knew you were many years ago. Anyway, thanks for watching.